Hey guys, this is Emily. I thought it might be helpful to take you through setting up an APA document, especially setting your system defaults to these types of settings will make using APA not so much of a headache. So I figured I'd give you a video that kind of shows you how to do that. This is the Mac version of Word that I'll be doing this video on. There's also going to be a PC version of setting up your Word defaults and setting up an APA paper that I'll have posted in the same location as this video. So if you do use Word or Microsoft or PC, whatever you want to call it, make sure you watch the correct video, otherwise this could be pretty confusing. So to get started, like I said, we should set our defaults for Word to APA settings. That way, each time you open Word, you don't have to reset the type of document you're working on and all of the formatting things that can be quickly changed to default. So we'll go ahead and we'll start working on that. And since we are basically formatting a paper, we're going to go under Format to get started. So for the first one, we're going to click on Font. Depending on what you've used before, there may be something else listed here, but you want to select Times New Roman, regular font style, and size 12 to set up for the right kind of font in Microsoft Word. The important thing before you leave this area is to click this button down here in the lower left-hand corner that says Default. This will change your system preference to these settings so that each time you open a document, your font will already be set and you won't have to play the fun game of resetting the font. So once it prompts you to be sure that you want to change it, you're going to click Yes, and you get to move on to step 2. So again, we're going to go under Format, and this time we're going to be formatting the paragraph settings of the document. So underneath paragraph is where you're going to see things like your line spacing, and that's a big deal in APA. You're going to be using double spacing for all of your documents, so we'll select that. In some situations, you may see this button, this area right here, the after spacing set to 10-point font. In APA, you don't need it set to 10-point font, you need it set to 0, so I would change that if your system already has it set to 10-point. That gives you a little extra space after each paragraph, which is not necessary in APA. So you want to have double spacing with 0 point to follow. For the most part, these are the other default system settings, which you should not have issues with. I don't see on here where you can set double spacing as your default on Word, but I'm sure it's located somewhere in the software. But that is one thing you will probably have to change until we otherwise figure out where it's located. The other thing you want to make sure is if you come down here to this button that says Tabs and click on it, it opens up for the default tab size. If you read the APA book, it says that you should be doing 5 to 7 spaces or a ½ inch tab for each paragraph start. So we want to make sure this is set to a ½ inch, and then you use your tab button at the start of the document when you're starting a new paragraph, and you will not have to hit that space bar 5 to 7 times. This ensures that your formatting is good with APA. So you can go ahead and hit OK on that once it's set to a ½ inch. So once you've done those two things, there is another thing you want to do, and that's make sure that the margins of your document are set to APA standards. So if you click on Document, mine currently are set to 1-inch standards on the top, bottom, left, and right. I think the default for the system for left and right might be 1.25 inches. So just make sure that your margins are set to 1 inch. And then the header margins are usually okay. Then again, if you have that set up, hit your default button, and that will make you change this to your permanent settings. So now when you open a Word document, the only thing you may need to change is the double spacing for the document. And if I find a way to make that part of the format permanently, I'll let you guys know. So that gets you started. The next thing most people have a lot of stress about is going to be a header. Now there's 2 ways to do this with Mac products. If you see when I mouse over the header location, there's a little box that comes out. Usually if you double click with that, that will open up headers as well. But the other thing you can do is you can click on where it says Document Elements, You come over here to about the midway point where it says header, and there's a drop down. When you click on that, I prefer to do the basic one because it allows for me to put in the correct format for my APA header. And you just remove that text. Now this is the part where some people get a little anxiety. The first page of an APA paper has a different header than the rest of the body of the paper. It's very easy to change, but sometimes people aren't quite sure how to. So what you want to do is come over to this header and footer navigator that has opened up now that we have a header. And then you're going to click different first page as this option. That will allow you to do your different first page, and then the subsequent pages will be able to be edited differently. So for our first page header, it should be set up like this. You should have running head, a colon, and then in all capitals, your title. So we'll just say title of your paper. It's important that you keep the running head is lowercase, the R is capital, the H is lowercase, and then after you've completed that part, you're going to tab over to the end of the header, and we're going to insert a page number there. So the way to insert a page number, you can come up here to the navigator again and click the button that says page number, and it'll drop it right where the cursor is for your text. So if you have your cursor back here and you drop the page number, it will show up in this location. So once you have that first page header taken care of, that usually makes it a little bit more easy to keep working. So then to exit out of the header so that I can create a second page for you guys to see, you double click outside of the header. I'm going to go down and create page 2 just so you guys can see the next part of the header, and we'll kind of re-go through how you set up the header. So now that I'm on page 2, again, just to kind of go back through it, you can either click here or you can hit document elements, and then under document elements you find header. We'll try double clicking this time and see it opens my header. Now once it opens the header, again you want to go back into the navigator for header and footer. Once you're in there, there's a little difference between the first page and the second page and all subsequent pages, and that is no running head at the top. So we're going to put just their title in all capitals of whatever our paper is called. And then again, tab over and drop a page number. So I've tabbed over. I'm going to come up here and tap where it says page number, and that gives me page 2. So that sets up our header, and now all other pages that follow will have the second page header with the appropriate page number. So that's how to do that in APA. That's a big part that sometimes people have a lot of problems getting, but once you get the hang of it, it's really easy to do. So the next thing we can talk about is just some little style things that go along with APA. So most people understand that there's a cover page with APA papers, and typically with the cover pages, you're going to come down and center your font and insert the title of your paper for the first line in normal capitalization, assuming that your and paper should be capitalized. The second line is going to be your author's name. So in my case, it'll be Emily Harmer. And then the third line will be University of Florida. That'll get you through the title page. And then coming down to the start of your actual document where you're going to have the content. There we go. The first line of your page, your second page, where your paper actually begins, should be centered, and again, should be the title of your paper. There's no bolding of anything so far that we've talked about, no emphasis by other means, whether it's underlining, capitalization, or all caps or anything like that. So far, everything we had should be in regular font, and it should all be just as it's been done. So after that, you would, of course, start your paper. There are levels of headings that over the course of your academic pursuit you may need to understand. There is a really excellent table of that in your APA book on page 62. It's table 3.1 and it walks you through the levels of heading. I'm not going to go in too deep on that, but if you start using your APA manual almost like you would a dictionary or a thesaurus, it'll really help you to understand why you do the things that you do, and it'll increase the speed of your paper writing tremendously. So that's just a little blurb I wanted to put out there. Use your APA manual like it's a dictionary or a thesaurus or some other defining type book, and you'll be able to move more smoothly through your papers in the future. One more thing I want to talk about before I wrap up is on your reference page. There is some stuff you can do to make it a little bit easier when you're setting up your references. Of course, when you come to your reference page, assuming it's going to be on page 3 from this beautifully short little paper, you're going to set it up where your reference is listed with a certain type of indentation. So again, this is references. We're going to come down, and then for our first line, we're going to go back to left alignment. And then let's say I have a reference that's written by me because I'm a famous author, even though I'm not. And I wrote it this year because I have so much free time on my hand. Something really exciting. This is article because I'm not capitalizing things. And then it's published in italics, Journal of Emily, colon 1. All right. So, and let's assume that we have some more things to add to it that can lengthen it out. So we'll change this title of your extremely cool article that I wrote that one time in college for fun. Okay, so now that we have 2 lines. One thing you can do to make your article indent appropriately is what you're going to do is select your text. You're going to right click on it, and you're going to go into paragraph. Now, for your reference page, your references are going to be listed with a hanging indent. That moves this into the type of format that you see on most of your APA reference pages. If you just do that, it takes some of the headache out of having to figure out how to move the second part, the second line over so that you're able to get the type of format you're looking for. If you can remember that under paragraph, it's called a hanging indent,